On April 8th, Winnipeg peace activists held an information picket in front of the office of Jim Carr, Liberal Member of Parliament for Winnipeg Centre, and delivered a message to his office. The purpose of this action was to object to the Canadian government's recently announced plans to spend $19 billion on 88 new F-35 fighter jets and to increase military spending by $6.1 billion over the next 5 years. Here is some of what they had to say.
Hello. We haven't got an appointment, but we would like to leave our statement of our opposition to the increased military spending in the federal budget for Jim Carr.
Yeah.
And we're also very opposed to Canada's purchase of new fighter jets. We'd like to leave this with you. And Ernie, would you like to say anything? Ernie is someone who's been very active in opposing the fighter jets.
Hi, Ernie.
Well, I guess I would just like to add to that, it's not just being opposed to something, but it's being in favor of something else, which we think is a much better alternative. Let's fund human needs. Let's fund, climate change adaptation and infrastructure, indigenous issues, and so many other things, rather than investing in these fighter jets, which, to my way of looking at it, is not a defensive weapon, it's an offensive weapon. In fact, if you buy a certain kind of CF-35, nuclear missiles can be put on those jets. And do we really want this? Surely Canada, surely Jim, as our representative in government, can carry a different narrative than what is the predominant narrative. We don't want to just be anti, but we want to be seen as being in favor of what we think is a better alternative.
No, well, thank you very much for bringing this in, and I will certainly make sure that your voice is heard and that Jim receives this. Can I give you my business card in case you have any follow-up questions?
Yes,
sure.
And we might request a meeting. We'll give you our coordinates if Jim is interested.
Sure. You can just bear with me one second. I'm the only one in the office
Sure.
today, so just first we have sort of rules. But yeah,
Sure.
sorry.
Yeah, we understand.
Okay, why are you here?
We're here because we're very much opposed to the increase in military budget. It's not as high as we expected it to be, but it's still an increase in the military budget. It's not as high as what took place in Germany, which was $100 billion a year, just in 1 year. But we want to express our condemnation of this increase because it leads to war. It increases the destabilization of world politics. And we need to fund social needs, not bombs. That's all I have to say.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. Very important action to oppose the increased military spending in the most recent budget. It's some $8 billion, but that is already on top of the $17 billion committed to purchasing new fighter jets for Canada, $70 billion for new warships for Canada. So it is very important for Canadians to get organized to oppose these military purchases and this increased procurement for the military, because this is part of increasing war preparations in the world, which we've seen. But it's also is significant that Canadians should be asking that these resources be diverted to social spending. And that's a very important issue. There should be funding for social needs, funding for reconciliation, funding for bringing clean water to First Nations, a whole range of social issues that need to be addressed in Canada. We delivered our statement to Jim Carr's office. They received it, and we should build this momentum of organizations and individuals against increased military spending and for increased social spending. Thank you.